कल्याण गुणान्नवश वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दम् निकुञ्जजूनारतिकेली सिद्धै जाजाली विद्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया निकुञ्जजूनारतिकेली सिद्धै जाजाली विद्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदाक्षादतिबलवशम् वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं प्राणायकान्न घनाघनतम् भक्तश्च कल्याण गुणान्नवश वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दम् साक्षादरीतेन समस्तशास्त्रैः युक्तस्तथा भावत एव सद्भिः साक्षादरीतेन समस्तशास्त्रैः युक्तस्तथा भावत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रिय एव वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दम् तो प्रभो प्रिय एव दर्श वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दम् संसारधामार्णललितलोक प्राणायकारिण घनाघनत्यम् कल्याण गुणार्णवश वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दम् Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to the members of the Hare Krishna Society, Prabhupada Disciples Association. And to all of you, thank you for attending on a regular basis these weekly programs of Chaitanya Charitamrita on Thursdays, Saturday morning, Bhagavad Gita as it is class and discussion, and Sunday, Srimad Bhagavatam program, all from the unedited, unadulterated, changed books that were written by Srila Prabhupada for our benefit and for future generations. And unfortunately, nowadays, many of the books have been changed by a group of notorious devotees who think that they have the authority to change the words of a pure devotee, Acharya. Whatever the Acharya speaks, Prabhupada explains in a lecture, whatever he speaks is Shastra. Even our classes, Prabhupada's classes, I should say, and Prabhupada's lectures, Prabhupada's letters, all of the information that Prabhupada gave us is all scripture. And this is very important because we have to understand that Prabhupada is the representative of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he never presented himself as God, but as the ambassador, the bona fide representative of God. And in this way, the devotee, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada give him the same respect as they would give the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna explains in the Nectar of Devotion, one who says he is my devotee is not my devotee, but one who is the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. So those devotees that understand that Prabhupada is the bona fide spiritual master, and they serve him throughout their entire existence, because Prabhupada has pledged his disciples that he will be our eternal guru. Yashodanandana Prabhu was explaining that to me yesterday from a letter or a lecture that Prabhupada gave, and the question was asked, how long will you be our guru? And Prabhupada said, I will be your guru forever. Isn't that wonderful? Just think about it. That Prabhupada, the bona fide spiritual master from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is our eternal spiritual master. And that's why we always insist, without compromise, that everyone take shelter of Prabhupada as a disciple if you want to become initiated, or a follower. And in this way, you're guaranteed to be liberated out of the entanglement of this material world, which none of us own. And it's very interesting that this current tragedy in Los Angeles is bringing a very stark reality to all of us about the possession of items in this material world. And the Sanskrit word for it is nirmama. Nothing is mine. And this particular catastrophe that's taken place in Los Angeles is a true demonstration of this principle, that nothing is ours, and in any moment in time, everything could be lost, even though you're in the conception that it's mine. I was looking, Ram Raghava Prabhu, at all of the celebrities. They have like $100 million estates, $80 million estates, $50 million estates. I just saw a video of Mel Gibson, who's a friend of my friend, Rostig Phil. And he is gone back up to his house in Beverly Hills, and it's been completely annihilated. It's one thing. Fire is a complete extinguisher of items. It's used to extinguish the body. When you have your funeral pyre, when you pass from the world, you burn in the fire, and it becomes ashes, zero. So, like that, these people had these huge mansions. Kim Kardashian, $100 million mansion filled with jewels and cars, millions and millions of dollars in cars and automobiles. And tragically, very tragically, look at that. My house before and after the California fires. Yeah, that's very good. You can see that. Tremendous buildings and accommodations. And after the fire, zero. Nothing is mine. But we think, oh, nothing will happen to me. Like these people, they lived in a paradise. Absolutely paradise. I've been to LA 28 times in my career over the years, not recently, but in the past. And toured all of these areas, Malibu and the different beaches. So you never thought, or I'm sure they never thought, that they lose everything. But this is a demonstration to all of us. It doesn't matter who you are. You can think you're this or that or whatever, a famous star. But at any moment, you could be erased from this world. Because when you die, you leave everything anyway. I use the term bankruptcy. Bankruptcy means you lose all your money. You declare bankruptcy. Death is the same. When you die, you're bankrupt. You have to prepare your will, give everything away. My son's coming tomorrow. I'm going to prepare a will for him to distribute all the assets. I'm going to give some money from my estate to the Hare Krishna Society in my will. Absolutely. Because this is a registered charity. I don't want everything to be squandered. I don't want to say that my family would squander it, but without properly engaging money in the service of Prabhupada's book distribution, without properly engaging it in his preaching mission and the protection of his legacy, then everything is lost. And our society, and Nityānanda Prabhu and his brilliance, started this Hare Krishna Society. I love the name, by the way. I think it's a fantastic name. And he started this in 2002, and now it's 2024. And just for detail, I ran the legal affairs for the charity in Canada, all the temples, Montreal, Toronto, when I was working full-time with that group. And there's a lot of details in keeping everything, all the books up to date. That's different than simply working in the temples to make sure that the RTs go on every day. Like we had 5 RTs a day. We were cooking in the Toronto temple sweet rice because Prabhupada called the temple Kirchor Gopinath. I have a wonderful pastime. I'll tell, not today because we don't have time. When I went to Ramuna in India and saw the deity and what happened to us there after we performed kirtan was truly amazing. And we got the sweet rice from the pujari at that amazing ancient temple right in Bhubaneswar. So fantastic. So Nityānanda has put a lot of time into this to maintain the status, and it is a proper organization to be able to contribute, if someone so desires, from their will for the publication and preservation of the books. So anyway, think about this disaster and take notice of it as a lesson to all of us, that at any moment we can be called from heart attack, from natural disaster, from other living entities, we can be called out of this body and into our next birth, and we can't take anything with us. So this is a good opportunity for all of us. We're going to go to the Nectar of Devotion in this evening's program. As you know, I've been reading this particular book, and I'm planning to read after this the Krishna books. I haven't read the Krishna books in some time. I finished reading all the Bhagavatams. I'm going to read that after I finish. I read the three times the Chaitanya Charitamritas, plus we're reading them in class. So devotees, all of us, we got all our own campaigns of study. And as you know, we should focus on these books only, no other books. That was Prabhupada's request. And I'm reading chapter 25, and it's very insightful. Actually, it's an amazing blessing for anyone that can relish these books to get an understanding. If you are focused on Srila Prabhupada and his being his servant, then there's a special relationship between disciple and spiritual master. And it's in terms of the reading of the books. It's a personal experience and very exciting. This particular section of the Nectar of Devotion is far beyond my level of devotional activity, I must say. But I'm honored to go through the exercise and be in the role of a student at the feet of Srila Prabhupada in his purports, and also at the feet of Rupa Goswami, who's explaining these elevated understandings of Krishna consciousness through the words of the six Goswamis, and Rupa Goswami being the chief. So we're reading devotees of Krishna. A person who is always absorbed in Krishna consciousness is called a devotee of Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami says that all the transcendental qualities discussed above are also found in the devotees of Krishna. A certain percentage, because we're qualitatively one. The devotees of Krishna can be classified into two groups: those who are cultivating devotional service in order to enter into the transcendental kingdom, and those who are already in the perfectional stage of devotional service, like Srila Prabhupada. A person who has attained the stage of attraction for Krishna and who is not freed from the material impasse, but who has qualified himself to enter into the kingdom of God, is called sadhaka. Sadhaka means one who is cultivating devotion in Krishna consciousness. The description of such a devotee is found in the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 45th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said there that a person who has unflinching faith in and love for the personality of Godhead and his spiritual master is as well, who is in friendship with devotees of Krishna, and who is very merciful to the ignorant, with tact, raising them to the standard of devotional service, and who's interested in non-devotees, is considered to be situated in the position of cultivating devotional service. When one is found shedding tears by hearing of the pastimes of the Lord, is to be understood that the blazing fire of material existence will be extinguished by such watering. We have to be very careful with this. Pretending sahajya tears. No, not for us. When there is the shivering of the body and the hairs of the body stand up, it is to be understood that the devotee is nearing perfection. I think I've had my hairs on my body, Rang Maghava, stand up for about 1 second in 1973 in a kirtan. That's after millions of seconds. It is to be understood that devotee is nearing perfection. An example of sadhaka cultivating devotional service is Bilamangal Thakur. When a person is never tired of executing devotional service, that was Srila Prabhupada, and always engaged in Krishna conscious activities, constantly relishing the transcendental mellows in relation with Krishna, the devotee is called perfect. The perfectional stage can be achieved in two ways. One may achieve this stage of perfection by gradual progress in devotional service, or one may become perfect by the causeless mercy of Krishna, even though he has not executed all the details of devotional service. Interesting opportunity here. There is the following nice statement in the 3rd canto, 15th chapter, 25th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing a devotee who achieves perfection by regularly executing devotional service. A person who is freed from the false egotism of material existence, or an advanced mystic, is eligible to enter into the kingdom of God known as Vaikuntha. Such a mystic becomes so joyful by constant execution of the regulator principles of devotional service that he achieves the special favor of the Supreme Lord. Yamaraj, the mighty superintendent of death, is afraid to go near such a devotee, so we can imagine the potency of advanced devotional service, especially when devotees sit together. Now, note this, Bhakta Tom, like you are right now, and engage in talking of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're not sitting in a circle, but we're sitting together in the Zoom call. Those devotees express their feelings in such a way that they automatically melt with ecstasy, and many transcendental symptoms become manifest in their bodies. And I can say this, many of the classes, when I hear Yashoda speak, I feel blissful. I do. And the information is so illuminating. And the quotes that we give from Prabhupada in our lectures, they're so illuminating. There's a sense of happiness, yes, of bliss, Ananda. Anyone desiring advancement in devotional service must follow in the footsteps of such devotees. Must follow. Footstep. Think about what footstep means. Not change. Exactly. Parad Maharaj said that no one can attain the perfectional stage of devotional service without bowing down before exalted devotees. So always remain humble and appreciative of this opportunity that we are all creating together. Learned sages like Markandeya Rishi attained perfection in devotional service simply by executing such regulated principles of service. Be assured of success, everyone. A person's achieving perfection in devotional service simply by the causeless mercy of the Lord is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the Brahmins and their wives who were engaged in performing yajna, or sacrifice. When the wives of the Brahmins were favored by Lord Krishna and immediately attained the ecstasy of love of Godhead, their husbands began to say how wonderful it is that although these women have undertaken no reformatory performances such as accepting the sacred thread, have not resided in the monasteries of the spiritual master. Yes, that's what we were fortunate enough to do. Some of us have not observed the strict principles of celibacy, have not undergone any austerities, nor philosophized upon the observance of all ritualistic ceremonies. They still have attained the favor of Krishna, which is aspired after even by great mystics. How wonderful it is that these women have attained such perfection, while we, although Brahmins, who have performed all of the reformatory activities, cannot attain to this advanced stage. Interesting qualifications here, right? There's a similar statement by Narada addressed to Shukadeva Goswami. My dear Shukadeva Goswami, You never took the trouble to reside under the care of a spiritual master, and yet you've attained such a great status of transcendental knowledge. You never took the trouble to undergo severe austerities, and still how wonderful it is that you have been situated in the most perfect stage of love of Godhead. Shukadeva Goswami and the wives of the Brahmins performing yajna are vivid examples of devotees who achieved the perfectional stage of devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna's mercy is available by us pleasing our spiritual master, by serving his legacy like we are. Then we should be confident that we will get the mercy of Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission of the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, the bhajan by Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll have the reading and discussion with our friend and very sincere devotee. I'm not going to say anything more about how I feel about him, but it's a lot. Yashodanandana Prabhu, who's so kind to be with us this evening despite his schedule. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, after offering respectful obeisances, one, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, two, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, three, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then four, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the exalted literature, which is considered one of the principal literatures of Gaudiya Vaishnavism by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. As we do every week, we will be reading a few selected verses from the Adi Lila, chapter 1, from text 18 through 22. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra. And glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Next. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenayatma sat 18 era charana vandana tire morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet. for they are the Lords of my heart. Granterarambi Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavanti Nirasmarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinerasmaraneai vignavinashana anayaseai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala charanoi trivida prakar vastu nirdesha chiravada namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Again, it should be mentioned that this particular reading and discussion is on the basis of the original non-edited, non-interpolated, non-polluted 1974 version of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are reading today from the Adi Lila, chapter 5, text number 67. Aganyananta yatanda sannivesha tatarupe purusha kare sabati prakasha aganya, innumerable, ananta, unlimited, yata, all, andha, universes, sannivesha, groups, tatarupe, in as many forms, purusha, the Lord, kare, does, sabati, in every one of them, prakasha, manifestation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Purusha enters each and every one of the countless universes. He manifests himself in as many separate forms as there are universes. Text number 68. Purusha nasate yabi bahiraya svasa nishvasa sahite oi brahmanda prakasha. Purusha nasati, in the nostrils of the Lord. Yabe, when. Bahiraya, expel. Svasa, breath. Nishvasa sahiti, with that exhalation. Oya, there is. Brahmanda prakasha, manifestation of universes. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. When the Purusha exhales, the universes become manifest with each outward breath. Text number 69. Punarapi svasa yabe praveshayantare svasa saha brahmanda poeshi purusha shariri. Punarapi, thereafter, svasa, breath, yabe, when, praveshe, enters, antare, within, svasa saha, with that inhaled breath, brahmanda, universes, paeshe, enter, purusha sharire, within the body of the Lord. Translation. Thereafter, when he inhales, all the universes again enters his body. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In his form as Karano Dakashayi Vishnu, the Lord impregnates material nature by his glance. The transcendental molecules of that glance are particles of spirit or spiritual atoms which appear in different species of life according to the seeds of their individual karma from the previous cosmic manifestation. And the Lord himself, by his partial representation, creates a body of innumerable universes and again enters each of those universes as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. His coming in contact with Maya is explained in Bhagavad Gita by a comparison between air and the sky. The sky enters everything material, yet it is far away from us. Text 70. Gavakshera randreyena trasarenu chale, purushera lomarupe brahmandera jale, gavakshera of windows of a room, randre within the halls, yena like, trasarenu 6 atoms together, chale moves, purushera of the Lord, Lomakupe in the holes of the hair, Brahmandera of universes, Jale a network. Translation: just as atomic particles of dust pass through the openings of a window, so the networks of universes pass through the pores of the skin of the Purusha. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nityānanda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshataham Adadana Dhanter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Sat Karomisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As we continue the reading and discussion of this specific portion of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the depth of detail and precision that Krishnadas Kaviraj is employing in this description of the Purusha avatar, specifically the Mahavishnu or Karana Udakasayi Vishnu. Just like sometimes for practitioners and followers of different religious sects or different religious groups, they tend to characterize the teachings that are found in the Vedas and associated Vedic literatures as mythology, because they claim that we have no such experience as somebody with 4 arms or somebody with so many different characteristics that we do not experience in this world. In Sanskrit, there's 2 important words. One is called prakrita, which is manifested. One is called aprakrita, or non-manifested or transcendental. I've often related the story that one time I had the opportunity to spend a few days with Aprakrita Prabhu in Montreal. I was on my way to Quebec City to visit my dying or departing father. And it was very strange because at 2:30, 2:45 in the morning, I'm hearing some chanting. And usually I get up later, 3:30, 3:45, 4 o'clock. But he was up chanting steadily. And he did chant 25 rounds. every single day, Aprakrita, he would only sleep a few hours a day, like 4.5 hours, and chant 25 rounds, which is remarkable because all day he would be engaged in activities of hearing, chanting, preaching, sending books, preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. When we repeat these obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, Gauravani Pracharini, that Srila Prabhupada was preaching the message of Gaura, Lord Gaura, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vani, the teachings, the message, then Aprakrita was a very good example of such a personality. He had strong faith and dedication to Srila Prabhupada. In my mind, it was like Nityānanda Part 2. He was an exalted soul, a very special soul, and anybody who had the chance to basically associate with Aprakrita or come in contact with him or his preaching, you could not avoid being affected in a very positive, transcendental way. This is very important. This is the difference between Prakrita or material, the material world that we're experiencing, and the transcendental world, the spiritual world. Because this is a very important point to understand. When we are hearing these descriptions in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita of how the material world is created, how the different universes come about, how the Mahavishnu exhales and inhale, the material universes are created and they come out, this is very special knowledge. This is not like every day. If you live in Ontario, they have what's called a Globe and Mail in Toronto, which is considered a very prestigious, very reliable newspapers. In Montreal, they have a famous paper, Le Devoir, La Presse, different publishing institutions that publish everyday news of this world, the Prakrita world. What we have here is the news of the transcendental world. Now, this is not to castigate any aspersions or criticism of any other religious group or any other sampradaya or any other devotee. But what we find in the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers is very, very deep. Because sometimes there are some unfounded criticism, especially in India, from some ignorant persons, or persons with a poor fund of knowledge who say, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or Vedanta Sutra, standard Vedic literatures. Well, he only wrote 8 verses, the Shikshastakam. One time, Srila Prabhupada made a comment that the entire body of literatures of the Goswamis is the purport on the Shikshastakam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote 8 verses, but Jiva Goswami alone was said to have written almost 400,000 verses, the cumulative writing of Jiva Goswami. Sanatana Goswami also wrote many literatures. So did Rupa Goswami. So did Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So did Raghunath Das Goswami. All these literatures are almost 500,000 or 600,000 verses. And Prabhupada's comment was, this is the purport on the 8 verses of the Shikshastakam. So there's a lot of depth to the teachings of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. What Srila Prabhupada has brought is he has distilled, he has captured the essence of all these literatures in his purports and presented it for the common man in the age of Kali Yuga so people could understand these complex teachings, these complex theological discussions, such as we have in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and other books, and make it available for anybody with a reasonable degree of intelligence and faith to appreciate these transcendental literatures. That's why earlier today I put in the chat certain statements. This is a statement from a class in New York on July 20th, 1966. I'm reading from the chat here. It's a Bhagavad Gita class, chapter 4, text 6. in New York on July 20th, 1966. Prabhupada is explaining Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, Bhagavad Gita 8:19. It is manifested and again dissolved, and in the spiritual sky. That is the function of this material nature. There is another nature, superior nature, which is called the kingdom of God, Sanatana, eternal. So from that eternal nature, all these, either God or representative of God or incarnation of God, they come down at times when there is necessity. Just like the other day, I explained to you, just like there is scheduled time of the appearance of the sun. In your America, just like 4:30 a.m. in the morning, you find the sun rising. Scheduled time again and again, 24 hours after you'll find the sunset, sun rising. In every country, there is a scheduled time of the sun rising. Similarly, there are innumerable universes in the sky. This is one of the universe which we are seeing. There are innumerable universes. So in one of the universes, there is some incarnation or representative of God always there, and there is scheduled time. Now, this is very important. This is related to what we are reading in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita about the function of the Mahavishnu or Karana Udakashayi Vishnu, which resides in the Karana ocean between the material world and the spiritual world. And when it's time to create, these universes come out of the breeding of this Mahavishnu. This is also explained in the Brahma Samhita very nicely. Interestingly, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, there is a statement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, there is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita. This is the topmost Vaishnava literature. And when we read this book, especially with the commentary of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada's numerous citations that he gives in his lectures of Brahma Samhita, it is most exalted. It describes everything in the spiritual world, the material world, how everything is manifested, the form of Krishna, the position of the various demigods such as Durga, Shiva, Ganesh, Surya. Everything is explained nicely there. And that this is very important for Vaishnavas, because if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered the Brahma Samhita the topmost transcendental literatures, it's very important for us to become familiar with this literature. I mean, Srila Prabhupada recommended the recitation of this most auspicious literature for all the Gurukul children and all the devotees. In the morning when the deities are open, Prabhupada introduced the chanting of Yamuna Devi Dasi with certain specific verses from the Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada, if you study his various lectures and writings, he's constantly quoting from that book. Very important. There's commentary on the Brahma Samhita by Jiva Goswami, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada is quoted from that book so many times. This is very, very special literature. Very special. What's to be noted here, where I'm heading with this, when the time came for publishing the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the devotees wanted to know if this book should be edited. And Prabhupada made a comment, this is documented in some letter, that you cannot even change one comma of my Guru Maharaj's writing. This is very important, because we have seen, as it was mentioned earlier by Vishwakarma Prabhu, and everybody on this program knows, that the tendency to edit, this editing mentality, has infiltrated and infected the society of Srila Prabhupada, to the point where right now we have so many different books that have been published, which are very different than the original first editions. Now, many people are under the misconception that pre-1978 means it's an original book. It's not. And the example of this was in the 22nd of June, 1977, which was called the Rascal Editors Conversation, where Prabhupada criticized when he found out that the Ishopanishad had been edited. There was a few editions of Ishopanishad, and we found this out in the Gurukul in Vrindavan when we were reading the Sri Ishopanishad with commentary by Srila Prabhupada. And at one point, we found out there was 3 different editions. And the Gurukul children said, well, this is a different book that you're reading. I was reading from the 1969 edition. Some of them had subsequent editions. So when Prabhupada heard this, he was very upset. He said the next printing again should be the original way, or the first edition. Because the principle in Shastra is that you cannot change the writings of a great Acharya. Now, you can make notations or commentary in the future, although if the Acharya has written a commentary, Prabhupada said it is not required or necessary to make a commentary. But what we have is a disease that's infiltrated also with the Srimad Bhagavatam. We had one devotee in India, one of these computer geniuses, a computer expert. He made a study of the Srimad Bhagavatam first 4 cantos, how many changes were there between the first edition and the subsequent editions. He found there were more than 21,000 changes. So this kind of change disease is disrespectful to the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Even though there may be grammatical flaws, just like we are reading on Sundays, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 1962 edition, there are obvious typographical mistakes. Now, it should be understood that in those days in India, the printing that was done is very different. The technology that was used is very different than what we have today in 2024, in January of 2025. It was very different. It's called typesetting, with the typeset every word. And it took time. And it was my understanding, by speaking with devotees who are very familiar with that system, that many of these people that did the original typesetting for Prabhupada's books were not familiar with the English language, that the English language was not their mother tongue or their original language. Their original language was Hindi. So there was a lot of mistakes that were made. The mistakes were not Prabhupada's mistakes. They were the mistakes of the typesetters. But Prabhupada wanted the book out so that the preaching could commence, the preaching could start. And this is very important. Oh, this is very important. Here's some writing here from that conversation. So those 2 men are both in Los Angeles now, Prabhupada. So write them immediately, the rascal editors, they're doing havoc, and they are being maintained by Rameswaran party, Tamal Krishna. Sometimes there's a fear that some word will be unpopular, and on account of desire to gain popularity or acceptance, they lessen the strength of the word. They change the word. They choose a word which is more so-called acceptable. Swarup Damodar. Same thing is with the Back to Godhead. Just publish some photo, try to change so many things in order to make it popularized. They have been doing that even with the philosophy. Shatadanya. I remember when Rameswar was here, he had mentioned that in one article you had denounced the Christians strongly, and he said he left one part out because he was afraid there would be a bad reaction from the Christians in America. Prabhupada, that is possible. That is possible. He should be careful. Then, Tamal Krishna. I think in addition to Sat Swarup and Jayadwaita checking the English, that Bhakti Prem Maharaj has to check all the Sanskrit of all the books. He is translating now. So as he is translating, he can check. He's going, starting from the first canto. Swarup Damodar. I think this is very appropriate because checking English doesn't have any meaning without checking the Sanskrit, the original. Tamal Krishna. There was one verse in the 5th canto, from the way that they translated it, there was no way that anyone could possibly have understood what the verse meant. I mean, it was made unintelligible by the translation. So we were reading. Finally, Bhakti Prem says, wait a minute, this translation is wrong. They have edited an extra statement here that is not there, and it makes it completely not understandable. Then suddenly, when he corrected the Sanskrit, it was easy to understand. It was very clear. Prabhupada, so what to do? Tamal Krishna. So I think we just have to be slow but sure. We have to go over all the books and make sure that they're perfect before they are printed again. Not be in such a rush, print all nonsense. Swarup Damodar. One time I had a strong talk with Ramaswar Maharaj about our article for printing in the Back to Godhead. I didn't want them to be printed in Back to Godhead because they made so many changes. Prabhupada, oh, he has dared to change yours also? Swarup Damodar, oh yes, they changed so many things in our article. And it was on the telephone. I was speaking to him in Atlanta from Los Angeles, and I told him that this article should not be printed because they have made so many changes. And I didn't like that. Then they answered that it has already been offset, and BBT policy is always to be rushing. It's always BBT policy. Then I told them that if you sacrifice quality on the strength of rushing, then it is your business, but it is not my way. So please don't print it. But in any case, they have printed anyway that article, and we all have had a bad reaction. Prabhupada, so you bring this to Sapswarup. They cannot change anything. So in this way, this conversation went on. You can read this conversation on your own. It was on a June 22nd, 1970. So the point here that Prabhupada is saying, do not change. Prabhupada's books in his writings are perfect. They are complete. They are very precise. And the more they change these books, the more everything becomes polluted. Very dangerous tendency, as we've seen what they've done with the Bhagavad Gita. But what to do with those who claim that they have seen the truth? Kindly forgive me, today I may have to leave early, but thank you very much for your attention, your participation. And if you get the chance, try to locate these various postings I've done here with regard to the position of a pure devotee. I did those in the beginning of the class. Again, my respectful obeisances to all of you, and we hope that everything goes well. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. The potency of Krishna is inconceivable. And to be able to grasp it at any level, it is only possible through the descending process of knowledge, that it comes down in disciplic succession through the parampara system. And the adulteration of the parampara system, which has taken place by people who, for whatever motive they may have, are changing the philosophy to suit their ambitions, is the greatest sin. It's very, very tragic, actually, Anilesh Prabhu. And this protection of the legacy is critical for the benefit of the entire human race. And Prabhupada is very prominent in this plan of the Lord, very prominent. And of all spiritual masters, he is, by the blessings of technology and the facilities that we have, has become and will be the most potent administrator of this truth to ever walk the face of the earth. Now, it's interesting. I was the other day watching a story on Jesus Christ. I don't, even though I was raised as a Roman Catholic, I've never really spent much time on the teachings of Christ after becoming a Vaishnava, devotee, servant. But somehow or other, I fell upon this explanation of Christ and his teachings. And you realize, like Christ had said to the people that he was dealing with back then, they were fishermen and farmers, etc., that there is much more he could teach them, but they weren't ready to receive it. That the level, the time and circumstance was much different than today's society and opportunity. In fact, what happened was he performed this one miracle. I read it, I looked it over, where he took a blind man and showed him how to mix a potion and put it on the eyes of this blind man and made him see. And this was a miracle. Actually, we know that it is in their scripture. I don't know how much it's been changed, Prabhu's. You know, if Prabhupada's books have been changed, you can imagine how much the Bible, the New Testament, has been changed. But nonetheless, all things being equal, the blind man, he rubbed this earth on his eyes, and he was blind from birth. All of a sudden, he could see. Miracle. Now, he went before the Pharisees, and they saw the success, but instead of glorifying Jesus, they became angry. In fact, you know, as he progressed on, he would say, he was saying things like, the Father and I are one. Now, we understand that the relationship between Guru and Krishna is a very sophisticated understanding of the transmission of truth by the spiritual leader or guru representing God. But these people totally misunderstood Jesus. And look what happened in the end, Nilesh. They crucified him on a cross. Can you imagine how horrific that is? How demoniac these people were? To murder someone that's preaching, to try to help them get out of the material circumstance, and they think it's evil, and they killed him. So this type of confusion, it goes on in this world of spiritual education. Yes. And it's important for us to know that the spiritual master, and we're very convinced of this, all of us, that Prabhupada is the transparent via media source of transcendental information coming in disciplic succession from Lord Krishna himself. And that's why Yashodanandana Prabhu was explaining about the importance, and Prabhupada in that section that was put up, do not change things. How can you, a third-class man, change when you're not realized? You're not an Uttama Adhikari, but you're pretending and posing to be such. It was a very, very, very bad thing that's gone on. And this via media spiritual understanding of the spiritual master, this senses of the pure devotee are completely controlled by the Supreme Lord, Hrishikesha. And he becomes simply the puppet, the vehicle for transmitting the truth. It just comes straight through. It straight through Srila Prabhupada. And I've mentioned this before. When I first saw Prabhupada in Detroit, Nilesh, in 1971 at the airport, when I finally looked at him and he was sitting in the airport, I think many of us at that time, I don't know, but everybody was weeping and in ecstasy, seeing him sitting on the Vyasasan in the airport and preaching to us. And I could see at that time that Krishna was speaking through him. So this preservation of the truth of bona fide spiritual master is the key to understanding this philosophy. And there is no other guru. There is no other guru for us. And for people like I was, Ram Raghava, I don't know if you knew Hiranyagarbha. Did you ever meet him in Mayapur? Well, Hiranyagarbha was from Toronto, and he became Jagadananda. He passed away last year. And I remember going to Mayapur for the festivals, and I think it was in 1974 or 75, one of those years. I met Hiranyagarbha. We used to go on the streets in Toronto together. There was only a few of us, but we would chant all day on the streets, on Yonge Street, and distribute books. In Dodis and Kurtas, before people got into the wigs and the costumes and the selling of records and all the rest of it that went on as things progressed. But at any rate, I knew him quite well, and he was a good devotee. All of a sudden, he comes to me in Mayapur, and he tells me he just took initiation from Lalit Prasad Thakur. I was like, what? Like, how can you do that? You know, you only have one spiritual master to do that. And Prabhupada was present in Mayapur at the time and giving lectures every day. For week after week, we'd go to programs in the morning and evening and hear Prabhupada speak. And what he became, Jagadananda, renounced his initiation with Srila Prabhupada. How whimsical. I always, I wasn't Ram Raghava. I wasn't really tactful with him because he was my God. Are you crazy, man? What are you doing? You're not, that's against the rules. That is against the rules of Vaishnava philosophy. Your spiritual master is with you for your life. Like Prabhupada said, that he would be with us for a whole lifetime. And that's for all of us, whether you were initiated while Prabhupada was personally present, or you are initiated under the Ritvik system. It's the same thing. You're a Prabhupada disciple. I had a message, Nilesh Sharma, from Vinayak Sharma. He sent me a message last week, and he says to me, I hadn't seen him at the classes for some time. I don't see him here today. And he sent me a message. He said, oh, by the way, because he was planning initiation with us. And there was a plan that Yashodanandana Prabhu was going to go to Japan, and there was going to be 10 people initiated under his sponsorship. And I had suggested to him, maybe first you should get initiated, and then go ahead and we'll do this, we'll work with you to expand the Prabhupada. Then he says to me, I hope you're not mad at me. He sends me this email. I go, what? What do you mean, mad? Why would I be mad? Oh, I went to Bangalore with Madhu Pandit's group, and I took initiation through them. And my name is such and such brahmachari. I thought, oh. He said, I hope you're not mad. I wrote him back. I said, why would we be mad? The initiation is legitimate. It's the right system. But I hope you can work with us to serve Prabhupada's legacy, not just forget us. You're a Prabhupada disciple. So the formality is there, but the real initiation is in the heart of the devotee, just like the instructions. Does anybody get you every morning, Ram Raghava, to get up and chant your rounds? Do they go, hey, get up and chant your rounds? No, they don't. We all get up in the morning and we chant our rounds because we know that's our pledge. And we chant every day.
Excuse me, Prabhu.
Yeah.
By the way, he is present here as Vangshi Priya Prabhu. That's his initiated name. So he's present.
Okay, good. Okay, so maybe he could speak too. That's excellent. Because the point is, it isn't so much the initiation. There is a formal initiation, and that's a good thing. But the real issue is the commitment of the individual to get up and do his rounds, follow the regulated principles, and all the things that we put in our invitations. You know, we have these invitations that we send out. I was also dealing with another devotee from Bangladesh this week. And he's putting up all these posts on this, on Vaishnava philosophy. And I thought, I was being swamped with them, and we get a lot of posts. And I thought, okay, well, let me do a little questioning myself instead of just listening. So I asked him, where do you live? This fellow Mishra. And he tells me I'm in Bangladesh. And I said, how old are you? And he writes, I'm 17 years old. Oh, well, that was very revealing to me, because you know what it's like when you're 17. You're a ball of energy and enthusiasm. And I said to him, well, okay, good. That's good. You're 17 and you're not initiated. I sent him the invitation for our classes. You know, I copied and I sent him with all the connecting links to our group. And then he sent it out to his group, Neela Shama. And then someone in his group, because they're more, you know, sort of technically aware of how to transmit information, send it out to his group. And then one brahmacharini sends back, but I don't chant my 16 rounds, because we put in that you should chant your rounds to attend the program in this. And I sent back a message to them, their group. I said, that's all right. Just come to the program. That's the most important thing. Get the association. And then gradually things will unfold. So this initiation process, or the cultivation of new people, is a very important part to inspire them to take it up with their own, because we're not like, back in the day, Nilesh, we used to, you know, wake everybody up in the morning. Get up, get up. You go in the room, you kick the sleeping bag. Hey, get up. It was like that, you know, you hurry up, get going. So nowadays, you got to kick yourself, get up, do your rounds, cook your prasadam, tell people about Krishna, organize your schedule, do a things to do list. Just like Prabhupada had all his diaries. So we all have to be self-motivated to follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and take advantage of this gift. I'm going to finish up because Yashoda's gone, and we'll go to the panel. This is a gift, a very big gift. And I'm not trying to say I'm just blessed that I'm having to read this nectar of devotion, and I want to read it. And it's such an amazing experience. How do you express it to someone else? Well, just tell them, it's amazing. Will they figure it out? I don't know if they have the capacity. That's up to them. But if you stay focused at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to tell one last story. I was in New Vrindavan in 1973, and Prabhupada was there. We were in the temple room. It was really packed. We were just part of a large congregation of people that assembled in New Vrindavan. And I squeezed into the temple with everybody else. And then I had just shaved my head, so my head was a little tender. It was quite austere back then, in the cold water and all the rest of it at Ram Raghava and New Vrindavan. It was like tough. But at any rate, Prabhupada came in the room and we all, you couldn't fit in there. It was that small temple room, so people were crammed in there. It was totally broke all the fire regulations. Oh my God. But at any rate, I bowed down and I felt somebody's feet on my head. And I thought, who the? Now this was me. I'm, the way I am. I'm going, who's got their feet on my head? And I looked up when we all stood up, and it somehow or other, Prabhupada's, both his feet went on my head. And I thought, whoa. So who can say what is the mercy of how the mercy of Krishna can unfold for everyone? And this is the position that we should be in, that we take the feet of our spiritual master and put it on our heads and follow him back to home, back to Godhead. And that will be our success, period. The following of our spiritual master without any change, without any deviation, and without any misunderstanding. What have we got here, Nilesh? You got something?
Prabhuji, you were talking about inviting people to the class and what is the importance of it. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, verse 26. Prabhupada talks about this in his
Read
purport.
it, please. Read it for us.
Actually, the whole purport is very nice.
Read
Lord Shri
it, read
Krishna,
it.
the absolute personality of Godhead, is attractive not only in his personal features, but also in his transcendental activities. It is so because the absolute is absolute by his name, fame, form, pastimes, entourage, paraphernalia, etc. The Lord descends on this material world out of his causeless mercy and displays his various transcendental pastimes as a human being, so that human beings attracted towards him become able to go back to Godhead. Men are naturally apt to hear histories and narrations of various personalities performing mundane activities, without knowing that by such association, one simply wastes valuable time and also becomes addicted to the three qualities of mundane nature. Instead of wasting time, one can get spiritual success by turning his attention to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Now, this is very critical. By hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Lord, one contacts directly the personality of Godhead. And as explained before, by hearing about the personality of Godhead from within, all accumulated sins of mundane creatures are cleared. Thus, being cleared of all sins, the hearer gradually becomes liberated from mundane association and becomes attracted to the features of the Lord. Narad Muni has just explained this by his personal experience. The whole idea is that simply by hearing about the Lord's pastimes, one can become one of the associates of the Lord. Narad Muni has eternal life, unlimited knowledge, and unfathomed bliss, and he can travel all over the material and spiritual worlds without restriction. One can attain to the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources, as Sri Narada heard them from the pure devotees, Bhakti Vedantas, in his previous life. This process of hearing in association of the devotees is especially recommended in this age of quarrel, Kali. Prabhupada books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, verse 26.
Perfect. So once again, reaffirming the value of good association and the value of a direction to Srila Prabhupada's original Vani incarnation. I see, did Garuda leave our talk? Is he still here? I don't see him.
He left.
Oh, unfortunate. I wanted him to further comment on his post on the chat, but nonetheless, we'll go forward. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Maybe you could make a comment for us on today's discussion.
Hare Krishna, yeah. Thinking, earlier you talked about the people who don't follow near mama. Nothing is mine. And if you're in Los Angeles area, you're may have a lot of trouble. And here in Texas, if someone doesn't follow near mama, there could be horrible tornadoes at any time, or even many tornadoes.
Oh,
You could have like a lot of F5 tornadoes that destroy tens of thousands of people's homes in one day. And
Oh.
these happen sometimes in Oklahoma. Maybe they're not that serious all the time, but it can be very serious, these tornadoes. And besides that, something happened to me last week. One of the older devotees that lived here in Dallas before asked me to do an interview. She was starting an interview process, and I was number one, the first one. She was given this as an assignment, so she said, I want to do interviews. So I said, okay. And I didn't know how I would do the whole thing. She's not really a Prabhupada Acharya devotee, but at the same time, I prayed to Prabhupada and Krishna to give me the energy and power to do it in such a productive way that if it goes on YouTube, it will be, beneficial. And I think I sent the YouTube to some of my friends, like yourselves. And but I kind of made the point there that a lot of the problems and misinformation, disinformation, it started a lot around 1978. And I made the point that a lot of that disinformation or misinformation has not been resolved yet. So I was trying to be very tactful and not really kind of make it to where they wouldn't put it on YouTube. But that was kind of the point that I was trying to make without making a big scene about it. That's all. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
okay. Well, it's good for people to hear you speak and help them in understanding. And that's the job of each one of us. I see we got a Vamshi Priya Das. That must be our godbrother from Japan. Glad to meet you, Prabhu. I'm always attending, Prabhu. Earlier, my schedule was tuned for Thursday classes, but after time changes, I lost the habit of coming to Zoom, but I always watch them at YouTube. Is that him, Ram Raghava?
That's Vinayak Sharma.
Oh yeah, Vinayak Sharma, exactly. Okay, thank you, Vamsi Priya Das. I'm glad you're doing that. And like I said, we're going to have a technology group, and we want you to be part of it. Ram Raghava, maybe you could share some of your realization we're moving up to the end of the program.
Sure, I'd like to share a couple of things. One thing I'd like to point out to everybody, and then I had a question also for anybody who wants to answer it, especially you.
Okay.
I wanted to point out something caught my attention that you read in the Nectar of Devotion earlier.
Yes.
Let me see if I can find it again. So here,
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada is talking about Madhyama Adhikari. He's talking about a sadhaka who's cultivating devotional service. So it is said there that a person who has unflinching faith in and love for the personality of Godhead, who is in friendship with devotees of Krishna, and who is very merciful to the ignorant, raising them to the standard of devotional service, and who is uninterested in non-devotees, is considered to be situated in the position of cultivating devotional service. So this is, Srila Prabhupada's books are full of practical instructions for all of us. And this reminded me of something that is there in the Nectar of Instruction also.
Yes.
And where he outlines specifically Madhyama Adhikari. And before that, he states, excuse me, give me a second here. Yes, make that a little bigger. I hope everybody can read that. Before he gives the 4 qualities of a Madhyama Adhikari, he mentions the beginner level, Kanishta Adhikari. One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. Such a devotee is described in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.2.47. Archayam eva haraye pujam yaha shraddhaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smitaha. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave toward devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta or kanishta adhikari. And then he goes on for Madhyama Adhikari. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanishta Adhikari to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. The Madhyama Adhikari is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.46 in this way. And he gives the 4 qualifications of the Madhyama Adhikari, or 4 descriptions. Ishvare tad adhineshu balisheshu dvishatsu cha prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti sa madhyamaha. So the Madhyama Adhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love. That's 1. 2, makes friends with the Lord's devotees. 3, is merciful to the ignorant. And 4, avoids those who are envious by nature. So these are all very practical instructions for us that we can put in practice in our life. It's amazing how the nectar of devotion has the same thing in the nectar of instruction. So that caught my attention. And then the other thing, the question I had was, I love the purport that we read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita today. Let me see if I can find that again. No, sorry. Where Prabhupada explains how the Krishna glances on the material nature and impregnates the material nature, and how that is
it's text 69, chapter 5.
Okay. There it is. Okay, so it's wonderful how he explains in such wonderful detail. In his form as Karananda Kashayi Vishnu, the Lord impregnates material nature by his glance. The transcendental molecules of that glance are particles of spirit, or spiritual atoms, which appear in different species of life according to the seeds of their individual karma from the previous cosmic manifestation. And the Lord himself, by his partial representation, creates a body of innumerable universes, and again enters each of those universes as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. His coming in contact with Maya is explained in Bhagavad Gita by a comparison between air and the sky. The sky enters everything material, yet it is far away from us. So I just love the way Srila Prabhupada explains this process. But my question had to do with the last sentence, where he says the comparison between air and sky in the Bhagavad Gita. Is that by any chance the chapter 9, verse 6? That's what was my question, where it gives the comparison between air and sky.
Someone want to give an answer for that? Yashoda's not here. He would be very well equipped to give the answer. We can maybe table it till tomorrow's program.
Okay, I can bring it up again. I can just show you the verse 9.6.
Yeah, please.
It says, before that, 2 verses before that, Krishna is talking about how by me, my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And he says, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, still myself is the very source of creation. And then this verse 6, as the mighty wind blowing everywhere always rests in ethereal space, know that in the same manner all beings rest in me. So I'll bring that up in the next class.
Okay, good. Any last comments? Nilesh?
Yeah, I think what Prabhuji is talking about is what we go back to is what we call as Achinta Bheda Abheda Tattva, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about, simultaneously one and different.
Yes.
Simultaneously one and different. So the analogy which is spoken is that the wind is very hard to control. It is flowing all over, but it is still encircled within the ethereal space. It cannot go beyond the atmosphere of this particular earth. So though Krishna is in everything, he is himself separate from that in one sense, but in one sense he is the same because he and the potencies are the same. So that is why Prabhupada says that to a true spiritualist, there is nothing material or spiritual because everything is spiritual if you see it in one sense. And that is the reason why he always makes sure that through the examples of Arjuna and through the examples of Parikshit Maharaj, if we want to understand Krishna, we need to understand Krishna first, how he manifests in this cosmic manifestation first, and then go to his Vrindavan pastimes. That is why even if you see Maharaj Parikshit ask, how does to Sukdev Goswami, how does Krishna pervade this material universe? And so is Arjuna is asking, and that is why he asked for the Brahmanda Swarupa. And then he talks more and more details about his internal pastimes in the Bhagavatam through these discourses. So Achinta Bheda Abheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different, And there is a very nice sloka about Avyakta and Vyaktat, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Yashodanand Prabhu is there, I will go through that particular shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. But why is it, I think I got the answer about why Prabhupada has so staunchly told us to avoid listening to the Maha Mantra from the lips of a non-devotee as much as milk touched by the lips of a serpent, is because the avyaktat, the unmanifested, the transcendental part cannot be infused into the vyaktat or the vibrational sound, the actual vibrational sound which we hear. So I will discuss that further when he comes in, so that he can either refute it or he can corroborate to my deductions.
Okay, excellent. And thank you. And we want to thank everybody for being a part of our Thursday evening. It was a good attendance today, not bad. We're small. We're a small group, but we've got a quality group of people, and that's more important than quantity, is quality. And we hope that we'll be able to expand by all of everyone's efforts to recruit people to this sadhana program that we've introduced, along with other devotional activities that we're performing throughout the year through our network, through technology, and hopefully soon or later we'll have some kind of special event somewhere where we can all assemble and be together and have kirtans and prasadam feast and association on a personal level. Okay, so thank you, everyone. We'll move forward now with we'll be back again on Saturday morning for Gita and Sunday for Srimad Bhagavatam class. And we'll move ahead right now, Rupesh or Rupa Goswami Prabhu, with the chanting of Hare Krishna, led by Srila Prabhupada, 2 minutes and 54 seconds of Harinam Sankirtan. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Old Vaishnava devotees worldwide on this Zoom call and into the future. Panchakalpa, Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu, Bhaivacha, Patitanam Pavinibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,